I want to talk about how you could break down locations in order to get more locations, because a big problem people run into is not having enough locations to place their different images in their memory palaces or whatever location that they might be creating on the spot. And so what you have to do is you kind of have to come up with your own rules. I might give you some general rules in this video, but you kind of have to experiment to see what works with you. So let's say I'm using this desk as a location. Now for me, usually I would use the whole desk as the location, and that's it, and I would move on, right? But say you want to memorize some information, and you could break a location down to smaller locations, and that will help you have some extra information. Well, what you could do is you could start using the different items within the desk itself. So you could use a lamp, this plant, the book, this pencil holder, and even the chair if you want, and the legs. So this is a very basic desk, right? There are some desks that are really fancy. You have these different drawers on it. Maybe maybe you have like a little shelf above it too. So you have all these different things you might have with a desk. But let's say you want to use this specific desk. So what you could do is you could always say, hey, I'm always going to start at the topmost location and move clockwise. So that would be here at this book, and then clockwise would be the pencil, lamp, and plant. And then if you wanted to, you could go down and use a leg, but here you have legs that are exactly the same. So actually you could probably only use one leg. If you were to use all four, you might get confused which image which was on which leg, because they all look exactly the same. But the idea here is that you pick a kind of standard direction you move into. So it's going to be the furthest away from you, like this book, and then clockwise, it's going to be pencil holder, lamp, plant. And so once you have that, when you see the desk in your mind, oh yeah, I always start at the furthest away or the topmost, whatever it may be, and then go clockwise. And so you're not mixing up any of the information that you're actually trying to memorize, right? Because now even your sub-location has an order to it. So this might be location number 2, but here is sub-location number 1, sub-location number 2, and so on, right? And so it's really easy to kind of keep that, to keep order, right? Once you break it down and have those rules set for yourself. Now, what you have to do is you have to, in so many videos I've talked about, you have to experiment to see how you place images down. Now, let's say that you have these stories you create and they're really dynamic and a lot's going on. And so it might take the whole desk for you to use. So it might be hard for you to picture, that big grand story on this small little notepad, right? Because now you don't have the desk, you just have that notepad. But what you could do as well is you could shrink yourself down and see yourself at that book, and huge to you, because now you're tiny. You're like, whoa, I see that book in detail. Okay, yeah. So you're changing your perspective of the location itself in order to still place your story and images without having any interference with the other locations. So right now, yes, I see, we all see this little pencil case thing right here, but in my mind, if I close my eyes, go down, I can see myself on the lower level looking at the higher level, and it's all big and blue, there's not like pens in there already. And so now my perspective is, man, this place is big, so I could place more dynamic stories there because it's not going to bleed into these different locations. And so you kind of have to experiment to see if that works for you, if you're able to change the perspective of these different items that you're trying to use. Because once you do that, then the amount of locations you have, is twofold, fivefold, depending on how many different items you could get or places you could get within a single location. So you can see back here on this bookshelf, you could use these books, that picture frame, maybe these salt shakers, I'm not sure, this plant, this ball of, I don't know, wood. And so you could break that down, right? So most people would have, okay, I have this bookshelf, but that's all they do. If you want more locations, you start taking it apart, start dissecting the different items within it to see if those could be locations themselves. And so that's how you can kind of break down a main location into smaller locations. Now there is a limit. Like, let's say, I don't know, you had right here this kind of shelf, this drawer, right? So all you can really do is maybe use the handle, and that's it. There's not really more you could go off of. You don't want to start using the different corners or anything like that because they're all the same, right? There's nothing distinctly different between them. And so there is a limit to what items you could break down. You know, if it's like a blank piece of paper, like literally a blank piece of paper, there's really nothing you could do to it to make more locations. And so, like I say in everything, always experiment what I'm telling you to see what works for you. Just because something works for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and learn how to kind of take the locations you might have right now and kind of double them or triple them by breaking them down in these specific ways and having these set rules for yourself in order to keep the order within your sub locations. So I'll see you next time with a brand new video.